Hi, everybody. I am here with the real estate comeback queen, as we've just decided to call you that because we've been talking about what you do, and it is amazing. So for those of you guys who don't know Dulce Torres, she is with Lugari Real Estate Company. I don't know, something like that. Brokerage. Yeah. That makes perfect good sense. So before we dive into I-10, DACA, divorce, foreclosure, before we dive into all of that, let's get to know you a little bit better. Sure. So you have 20 years of experience in the mortgage, real estate, insurance experience. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into real estate.
Now, I've been in what I say the trifecta of mortgage, real estate, and insurance for 20 years now. And I say that it's the trifecta because it's three of the most important purchases that any, homeowner or even if you're still a renter can make. It's looking into how you can protect your assets like your home, assets like your car, and assets like your financial ability to buy and lend. In this space here in DFW, it's been a really great place for me to establish myself as a mortgage broker previously, as an insurance agent previously, captive agent with State Farm, and a lot of good things have come from that. I got my real estate license back in 2002, so it was a whole different market back then than it is today. So it's a great place to be. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you have this super well-rounded experience where you've got the mortgage piece, which is a big piece that a lot of people don't understand. Then you've got the insurance piece, which is also really complicated because there's this big weighing of premiums versus coverage and how much is too much and how much is not enough and uncovering all of that. And I know that can get really complicated. And then, of course, the real estate kind of brings that all together. I love that. Now, when we first sat down to talk, you said something that I have never heard somebody say before, and that is that a lot of real estate agents focus on a geographical area, but you do something different. Tell us a little bit about your style, your method, your process. Absolutely. So for the sake of convenience, a lot of real estate agents will adopt a region or a particular neighborhood or a particular community that they're very interested in serving. And that's not unusual. If I lived in a particular area and I'm most familiar with that area, then that's the area that I'd probably be best at serving and selling. I could speak to it. As someone who's lived in the North Texas area all my life, I can speak to all communities. I can speak to all areas. But rather than focusing on a neighborhood or a particular community or a particular region or drive time, I decided to focus my book of business is going to be in serving underserved communities. And so I'm serving people who just need that extra push, a little bit of a kick to help them get back to home ownership if it's something that they just haven't had the opportunity to do in a long time, maybe through a long-term lease, or maybe they've just, come back from a divorce or bankruptcy, or if that person has, challenging immigration status in that they have an I-10 or a DACA status or they're under asylum. There is a path to home ownership for everyone. There's a path to home ownership for you if that's been your experience. I love that. And when you told me that, the first thing I said was, wow, this is a girl who is not afraid of hard work. Because you're right. For the sake of convenience, a lot of agents will pick an area or whatever. But you're talking about some of the hardest loans to procure. You're talking about some of the hardest homes to find, because a lot of these people, they not only do they need help with their loan, right, but they also have to find the right house. Maybe it already has some equity built into it. Maybe, it's a little less expensive. And so, it needs some extra work that's put into it. This is a big undertaking. And I think that it can only be accomplished by somebody who has that knowledge from multiple different pieces. So let's dig into this a little bit. Sure. The number one thing that stops people from buying a house, what do you think that is? Right now, a lot of folks are hearing so much about competitive interest rates. Rates have never been lower. These are historic interest rates. It's never been a better time to buy a home. And while I can say that, and I can definitely share with you that this is one of the best times to invest in buying a home or buying an investment property or buying a commercial property for that matter, it is one of the best times. Folks that have had challenging credit or folks that need a little bit more help, they need to hear a little bit more than just, hey, it's a really great time to buy and here's why. They need to know that there's somebody willing to help and extend a hand when they may not have perfect credit or they may not have spotless employment history, or they may be coming back from a challenging, divorce or bankruptcy situation.
It's like when you hear on the radio, it's, for like car loans, it says for well-qualified buyers. And everybody, I think, almost instantly goes, I'm not one of those.
And that's not me. And everybody thinks to themselves, that's not me.
Yeah. Yeah, they think, well, Bill Gates is probably a well-qualified buyer,
right.
but I'm, and I think another thing that really discourages people is that you cannot actually find out what your true credit score is, right? So credit score is what's going to determine, and among a couple of other factors, amount down, special programs, and things like that, what your interest rate is going to be. And so if you pull up your credit score on like freecreditscore.com or creditkarma.com or whatever, you only get 2 of your scores. And that third score plays a big role in what you actually qualify. So what are the scores that you have to have in order to qualify for a home?
At a very minimum, lenders today are looking for the best opportunity to lend. And that means that they're not necessarily cherry picking consumers, but they are looking very carefully at your credit. And so things that are going to matter to your credit, again, you mentioned Credit Karma. It's a good resource to have, but it's not as accurate as they'd like you to believe. And the reason for that is because it just kind of gives you a snapshot, and what lenders are looking at is more of a deep dive. You need to have somebody take a look at your credit and really give you an assessment of what the best option is going to be for you, what type of mortgage is going to be, whether it's VA, whether it's going to be FHA or conventional. Each one of those lending types has its own specifications and its own credit minimums. At a minimum, you should be looking to maintain a healthy credit score at 640 or better. And if you can, work with a credit repair specialist, a reputable one, I can mention a few, will help bring you up to where you need to be in order to get the best available loan package for yourself.
And I think that's really important. So one of the things I tell people all the time is don't start looking at houses. That's the wrong place. And don't even start with the mortgage person. Start with the real estate agent, because the real estate agent helps point you to all the different places that you need to go. They can look at the big picture and say, this is the mortgage person you should probably talk to about seeing what you need to do in order to get there. And then credit repair people. These people they're like mechanics. They're either awesome or awful.
That's right.
And having somebody that's really reputable for that, I think, is really, really an important thing. So 640 is kind of the bare minimum. 680, you start getting into a much better interest rate, much better scenario there. And then as we were kind of batting this back and forth, you said something that, again, I've never heard a real estate agent say. I like you so much. You said that it is easier to buy a house than it is to buy a car.
That's right. A lot of folks don't recognize that right now, lending is under really strict guidelines as a result of the recession, starting back in 2006 through 2008 and then 2010. The government really cracked down on lending and made sure that lenders are far more responsible about how and when and under what guidelines they lend. But what that meant more than anything for us as American consumers is that you can have a loan, you can have a home loan, you can purchase a home without the stress and necessarily, thinking that you can't when you disqualify yourself. You can actually purchase a home easier than you can a car. The bank can't find you if you take off in the car, but they can find you if you buy a house. So they're a little bit easier to lend on a home, and a lot of folks don't know that.
Yeah, you've got an appreciating collateral versus a depreciating, collateral on the other end. So it makes sense that it would be easier. I know it's more money, but again, you've got this collateral on the back end that's completely securing the loan.
That's
so
right.
as long as you're buying a house within its value and you've got the credit score and you've got the income, I mean, there's really nothing else to it. And this is one of the things I think gets really overlooked that I don't think should, is that people think that renting is for low income, people who don't have secured status in the country, people who don't have good jobs, whatever. But that's not really the case. A lot of these people are renting because of either a lack of knowledge or fear that they might not be approved. Man, rejection's powerful.
It is. It really is. And if it discourages you from purchasing a home, the best thing that I can share with you is that there is a path to home ownership for everyone. If you've been renting for a really long time, and I like to say this to my clients all the time, there's no shame in renting.
Right.
It's providing a roof over your family's head. It's providing a roof over your fur baby's head. If you're a pet owner like me, there's no shame in renting. But long-term renting, everyone knows, everyone understands that it's not the best investment for your money. And so your living, expenses are going to continue to increase. Our rent goes up. Our equity in our rental property unfortunately doesn't. Your landlord loves you for staying so long in a property, but there is a path back to home ownership for you. You don't have to stay in a rental situation longer than absolutely necessary. Again, no shame in renting, but if it's time to buy a home, then the best time to start is now.
Yeah, absolutely. And as vacancies decrease, rent goes up. I mean, it's just basic supply and demand. Mm-hmm. So I've got friends right now that their rent just went up $200 a month.
Incredible.
Just boom, just like that. And they're like, well, I mean, we want to move, but moving's expensive, and it's brutal. It's absolutely savage. So getting into the other thing I think that stops people is they think it takes a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. My monthly expenses are going to be, 50%, double, triple what they are right now. And I need a lot of money down. I need $15,000, $20,000, $40,000 in order to buy a home. I think that's the other thing that really stops people. Right. What would you say to people like that?
A lot of folks think that the best way to buy a home is to have a ton of money in the bank. And by a ton of money, I'm talking about tens of thousands of dollars. And it may be that you've saved, and it may be that you do have tens of thousands of dollars in the bank. And that's great if you do. You're more than capable of making a home loan with qualifying for a home loan without a lot of the rigorous background that goes into qualifying when you have very little down or nothing down. Now you'll see some programs for zero out of pocket, zero down, and similar to that car loan that you mentioned, it's for qualified buyers. And again, we'll go back to, fixing your credit. We'll go back to just being educated about the financials that go behind budgeting yourself for when the time comes to buy a home. If you've got, several $1,000s in the bank, and I'm talking $2,500, $5,000, $10,000 in the bank, you've now learned to budget yourself to an extent that you deserve to buy a home. Get yourself into a property that's building equity for yourself and for your future.
Yeah, I bought my first home with my tax refund. That was all I needed. It doesn't take nearly as much as people think. And again, if you couple that with finding the right home, right? Yeah, if you're trying to go out and buy a $500,000 home, yeah, your rent's probably going to go up. And yeah, you probably do need some cash down in order to secure that loan, especially if you don't have a job where the DTI, the debt to income ratio, supports that, of course. But let's face it, there are homes that are available for $159,000, $160,000, $170,000, whatever it is. There are homes available. And when you have somebody who's really on your side and willing to do the work to connect those two, I think that's really, really impressive. So you say underserved community, bankruptcies, divorces. Divorces destroy people. I mean,
they really do.
A lot of people never come back from that. They were homeowners before, they got divorced, they started renting, and they just got into the rental game and could never find a way out.
That's right.
How do you get these people back to where they need to be?
Well, first and foremost, it's just encouraging folks to take that step, to reach out and ask for help. If there's an opportunity to learn about credit worthiness, if there's an opportunity to learn about your market. Right now, everybody keeps seeing on the news and local media that this is one of the hardest markets in all of Texas. And while we love our California transplants and welcome y'all,
and your cash that you're bringing with you.
Absolutely, your cash in purchasing is phenomenal. It's driving up the draw on the available inventory. And so what that means is that if you are looking for something at a lower price range, saying, like the 159, range, if you're looking for something at about 200,000, that's about as low as it's going to go right now. And I have investors that reach out to me all the time and say, is there, kind of a back end market where the homes that aren't listed? That exists to a very small extent. And if you're buying a onesie twosie as an investor, you just don't have the buying power that you think you do if you've got, that much money in the bank.
Right.
And so the best thing to do right now as a homeowner is to just recognize that the opportunity couldn't be better, mortgage wise, interest rate wise, couldn't be better than to try to purchase now. But if it's a really good time for you to just take a look at your credit, start there. Start there and take a look at what the market inventory is. Call me. Let me know if I can be of help in helping you get to know your neighborhood. If you want to take a look at a few homes, I'm always up for a tour, especially for new home communities. But remember, the most important thing that you can do for yourself and for the betterment of your future financial stability is to just take a look at your credit. Have someone reputable take a look at it, let you know what it is that's available to you and how you can make it better.
Step one in every wealth building book is always buy real estate. Stop renting, buy real estate. It's always the number one step.
That's right.
And one of the things that I think would make people feel a lot more comfortable with working with somebody like you is you've seen the dark, you've seen the dirty, you've seen the stuff that goes on in people's lives. Let's face it, nobody's got a perfect life. If you're out there and you got a perfect life, well, congratulations. But, you know, people have secrets. They've got skeletons and things that they don't want to necessarily share with other people. So I think it would be much more comfortable to share that with somebody that's their passion.
Right.
And man, I see that passion in you so much. So if you're interested in buying or selling a home, if you're interested in becoming a home owner instead of a renter, if you're interested in building your wealth and you've got, okay, hey, if you're a perfect client, please call. I mean, if she can do this for them, she can definitely do it for you. But you've got bankruptcy, divorce, foreclosure. Your legal status is questionable. Not questionable, like like you're here illegally, but like you got an I-10 or you got a DACA or asylum or whatever. This is the person, right? I mean, this is the person who works with those cases and really serves the community. And I know that you get paid to do this, but this is almost charitable work. It almost feels it's that level of passion, and I really, really respect that.
Thank you.
So if somebody's interested in buying, selling, or finding out what their options are, maybe they go, hey man, there's no possible way I can buy a house right now. And I know that. I know that there's no possible way. A, you might be surprised. Right. B, what do I need to do for the next year to get myself in place? What's the best way to reach out to you to get some of those questions answered? The
best way to reach me is always by cell. If you can reach me, my number is here, and give me a call, send me a text. Let me know that you're interested. Let me know what I can, be of service with in the way of selling a home, in the way of investment properties, in the way of relocation, what you might need. But first and foremost, I am dedicated to serving the community. And when I say that I serve underserved communities, it just means those folks that maybe other folks have maybe turned away, or it just looks like a little bit more work than a consumer who's ready to buy and ready to go right now. Don't we wish that everyone, had it so easy? But because we know that everyone's situation is different, and we know that everybody's qualifications are going to be, on the high end, on the low end, and somewhere in the middle, that's probably where you fall. Don't disqualify yourself. Don't think that you can't purchase a home. You can. Yeah, I can almost guarantee you there are people in way worse situations than you're in who are now homeowners thanks to Dulce, and I think that's really, really cool. Look, if you've been declined for a bank loan, if you've said, renting is really going to kind of be your thing, especially if it's been by a big box bank or a huge money lending opportunity, or like the online ones, the Quicken, and if these people have declined you for a loan, don't take no for an answer, right? If the first pretty girl you ask out on a date says no, you don't stop asking out girls. That's not how it works, So definitely give Dulce a call and get that done. Anything else you want to add? I just would like to know if you can tell me a little bit more what I should know, or what my clients rather, should get to know about in home inspections. Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you guys who don't know, my name is Jonathan Crow, and I've been a home inspector since I was 2. My dad and my granddad were both home inspectors before I was. My granddad's license number is 28. So I've done 7,000 inspections, give or take. So there's quite a few. When it comes to buying a home, especially when you're buying a home in a seller's market where the seller has a lot of control, there's usually multiple offers and things like that. The inspection can sometimes feel like it's not as powerful as it is in a high buyer's market. And to some extent, there's truth in that. However, do not buy a home without getting a home inspection. It's a really bad idea. If nothing else, you want to make sure that your main 3 are okay. The kinds of things that you can't live in a house without: good foundation, good roof, and the heating and AC have got to work. If any of those 3 are out, you're in trouble.
right? And don't rely on FHA, VA, because let's be honest, they're not checking foundations, they're not checking roofs, and they're not checking HVAC. They're just not. They're appraisers. It's not what they're supposed to be doing, right? They have a checklist that they got to hit, but they're not home inspectors, right? They're appraisers. And one of those things are bad, right? And it comes up in a home inspection and the seller says, no, I said that I'm selling the house as is. Once you've disclosed that thing, it does a couple of things, right? Number one, that seller is highly incentivized to work with you, right? They've gone through a lot of effort. Maybe they've gotten 5, 6, 10, 15 offers, right? But they picked yours. They've taken their house off the market. They've got the option money. They've got the earnest money, and they're highly incentivized to work with you. So if it's a small repair, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, I know that sounds like a lot, but in the process of selling a home, it really isn't. They're highly motivated to do that because they realize if you don't buy the home, they now have to disclose that to the next person.
That's
and
right.
Of course, they're not going to buy a home that needs a new roof, not unless they're a cash investor and they're willing to put that money in.
That's right.
Which is not usually the case. So absolutely a home inspection, highly, highly recommend it. Also attend your home inspection. I'm shocked how many people don't come to their home inspection, and during COVID and everything, I get it, and we do a really good job of making sure we're delivering that information. But the home inspection is the longest chance you get to be in the house before you actually buy it. So come, bring your measuring tapes, plan out where you're going to put your furniture, but be there available. So if the home inspector has something he wants to show you, or if you have a question, you have that time with him to be able to ask. Always make sure your home inspection is being done during your option period and that you're going to get your report in a timely manner. A lot of inspectors out there inspectors are required to deliver your report within 3 days. That's a long time, especially if you've got a 5-day option period. It took them 3 days to get out there. That means you may not have your report by the time your option period is done. You may have gone over it verbally, but you won't have the printed copy. So all of our inspections are completed, printed, and emailed from the job site. So you never have to worry about that with us, but make sure you know when you're going to get it. Was that good?
That's incredible. That's incredible. That's great information for everybody to know. Everybody should be aware that getting a home inspection is critical. It's going to be one of those things that if your agent has someone that they recommend, that's great. Look around, see who's got, some really great reviews like you guys here at Tex Inspect. And I just can't say enough. It's a great day to be here to meet you guys.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to have you here as well. Absolutely. And yeah, you're going to spend $400, $500, $600, but it's going to be worth every penny in the long run. So don't be afraid. Dulce, an absolute pleasure. Thank you for everything for what you do for people who need a little bit of extra help.
Absolutely.
So give her a call, and then until we see you again, stay safe and stay productive. Bye, everybody.
Bye.